Just before my wedding with John, the prince of the Beijing circle, he insisted on going abroad to get a custom-made diamond ring for me. A month later, he returned with another woman and wanted to call off our engagement. When he was having a heated argument with his mother, I had just returned with my test results. It was raining heavily outside, and I was soaked to the skin, feeling cold to the bone.
Mom! I've fallen in love with someone else. Let's cancel the wedding with Emily.
The test results were crumpled in my hand. I quietly opened the door a crack and saw Mrs. Smith clutching her chest, pointing at him angrily.
Are you crazy? Your wedding with Emily is already set, just waiting for the certificate and ceremony, and now you want to back out? You've been with Emily for 5 years. You once told me you wouldn't marry anyone but her. Have you forgotten?
Mrs. Smith looked at John in exasperation, but John stood there calmly, raising his hand, interlocked with the other woman's fingers.
Yes, I regret it. I've fallen in love with Lily. Is that not allowed?
Lily. My heart skipped a beat. I pushed the door open and rushed in, drawing everyone's attention. The woman's face came into view, and those chilling eyes. Lily. It was really her, the one who bullied me in high school. Not only did John, who once loved me deeply, betray me, but he also got together with the girl who bullied me. How absurd. My legs trembled, and I almost fell, my left ear ringing. John instinctively reached out to grab me but withdrew his hand as soon as he touched my arm, as if I were something filthy. His shove nearly caused my stomach to hit the coffee table. I instinctively protected my belly. Fortunately, Mrs. Smith quickly pulled me back.
Emily, you're expecting.
She turned around to speak again but was interrupted by John, his voice colder than before. He pointed at my belly and said indifferently,
Emily, get rid of the baby. Is 50,000 enough? Just leave.
As soon as he finished speaking, Mrs. Smith slapped him hard across the face, leaving blood at the corner of his mouth.
Scum. Do you know?
Bang. Mrs. Smith's words were drowned out by a loud noise. John had kicked the coffee table, smashing it violently.
Enough! When I say it's over, it's over. You shut up too. Stop pushing me.
With that, he pulled Lily towards the door. Under the light, the diamond ring on Lily's finger sparkled, piercing my eyes. It was the ring I had designed myself, which John had insisted on having crafted by Master Tim's abroad. It was our wedding ring, now on another woman's hand. I stared at John's back for a long time until he was about to disappear. Unwilling to give up, I chased after him.
John, do you know who she really is?
John stared at me for a moment, a playful smile on his lips.
Yes, I know. Lily is the one who used to bully you. But so what? It doesn't stop me from loving her.
Under the dim light, the diamond ring on Lily's finger sparkled, piercing Emily's eyes. It was the ring she had designed, meant to be her wedding ring with John. Now, it adorned another woman's hand.
John, do you know who she really is?
Yes, I know. Lily is the one who used to make your life difficult.
What's your point? That doesn't stop John from loving me.
Tears slid down Emily's cheeks. John knew all along. She felt a cold pain deep in her bones.
Emily.
A thunderclap roared from the sky. Everyone except Emily was startled. Lily, frightened, covered her ears and burrowed into John's arms.
John, it's thundering. I'm so scared.
Don't be afraid, don't be afraid.
He didn't look back at Emily and left with Lily in his arms. Emily touched her left ear, standing still, remembering the past.
John, you once promised to protect me.
But now, he wanted to marry the very woman who had hurt her. Exhausted, Emily returned home, touching her belly and sitting by the bedside until late at night. Then, John knocked on her door. Emily rented an old apartment with poor sound insulation. Her monthly salary wasn't high, and she had to support her mother. The knocking grew louder, drawing curses from the neighbors. Finally, Emily had no choice but to open the door. John reeked of a strong perfume that made her feel nauseous.
Here's a bank card with $500,000 for the procedure and breakup fee.
I don't want your money, John.
Stop pretending to be so noble, Emily. Weren't you with me for the money?
I was with you because I loved you, not for the money. But now, you don't seem worth it anymore.
John laughed, bending over and shedding tears. He threw a broken USB drive at Emily's feet.
I've destroyed the evidence of Lily's past actions. From now on, no one can hurt her. If you still want to hold on to it, you can try.
John left gracefully. Emily collapsed on the floor, hugging herself as tears streamed down her face. The ringing of her phone interrupted her sobs. It was Lily.
You wretch! Did John go to your place? Are you trying to win him back? He already knows your true colors. You are seeing other men behind his back.
Emily hung up immediately. Lily wasn't done yet and sent a bunch of photos with a note.
I've shown these to John. He'll never forgive you.
Emily looked at the photos. John's sudden change made sense now. He thought she betrayed him, but she didn't. The man in the photos was her doctor, Dr. Lucas, who was treating her ear. John and I were once in love too. I couldn't understand how he believed such a clumsy lie.
When I first started college and went camping, my mother called me, asking for money again. She demanded 20,000 yuan. I couldn't give it to her, and we had a huge fight. It was the first time I argued with her so fiercely, and afterward, she cursed me with the most venomous words in the world. After hanging up, I was very upset and ran far away to cry in a corner.
When I had cried enough and tried to return to the campsite, I got lost. It was cold on the mountain, and I was shivering in my thin clothes, unable to find the right path. Just when I was in despair, John found me.
He draped his only jacket over me, his face and legs covered in mud, and his leg was injured. Limping, he carried me down the mountain, his voice trembling from the cold, yet he comforted me.
Emily, don't be afraid. I won't let you get hurt.
Gradually, we had more contact, and he started pursuing me. John was really good to me. That high and mighty young master was always cautious around me, treating me like a precious gem. Naturally, we ended up together, and our relationship was sweet and loving.
So when he had a car accident, I rushed out to push him away. I suffered a severe head injury, partially losing hearing in my left ear, which meant I could no longer pursue my beloved music. Afraid of making him feel guilty, I never told him and secretly sought treatment.
I wanted to revive my dream. That's how I met Dr. Lucas and committed to treatment every 3 months. Recently, my left ear showed significant improvement.
But I never expected John to discover it one day and misunderstand it as an affair. I collapsed on the sofa, my tears soaking half the pillow. Touching my belly, I thought all night.
When the first ray of sunlight hit my face the next day, I finally made a decision.
I'm sorry, baby, but I can't keep you.
I didn't want to explain anything to John. When he appeared before me holding Lily's hand, there was no possibility left between us. I took a taxi to the hospital for a procedure. At the hospital, the doctor said it was too early and asked me to wait another 20 days. Helpless, I had to wait a bit longer.
On the way home, I opened my phone and saw John's latest social media post. He posted a countdown image.
30 minutes until the official announcement.
Our mutual friends were all congratulating us in the comments.
Wow. 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 Emily and John are finally getting married. Congratulations.
Can't wait for the wedding certificate.
Got the gift money ready. When's the wedding? Haha.
Our friends didn't know the bride had changed. They were so sure of our relationship that no one noticed the woman in the photo wasn't me. When they see the bride's face on the marriage certificate, they'll be shocked.
I sneered and posted a short message on my social media.
John and I have broken up.
Then I blocked all of John's contacts. From now on, we are strangers. When I got home, I collapsed into bed and turned off my phone. I was exhausted and slept for over 10 hours. When I finally turned my phone back on, it was already 3 p.m. the next day, and my phone was flooded with messages. Some were from friends, and many were from John's secretary. He had sent dozens of messages, all with the same plea.
Emily, please come to the hospital. Mr. Smith is in trouble.
I put down my phone, not intending to respond. But soon, my phone rang again. This time, it was Mrs. Smith. She was crying on the other end, saying she was too ashamed to contact me, but John's condition was really bad. He was demanding to see me and refusing treatment.
Emily, please, he needs you. He won't let anyone help him.
Mrs. Smith was sobbing uncontrollably. She had always treated me like her own daughter. In the end, I had no choice but to go to the hospital. On my way there, I pieced together what had happened. John and Lily were on their way to the Civil Affairs Bureau when they were hit by a car. Lily wasn't hurt, but John suffered a head injury and, ironically, lost his memory. He thought he was 21 years old again, 5 years ago, when we were deeply in love. When I entered the hospital room, I saw Lily crying as she handed John a glass of water, only for him to snatch it and throw it in her face.
Get away from me!
The water wasn't hot, but Lily covered her face and cried as if she had been burned, her makeup running down her face like a ghost. The absurdity of the scene made me want to laugh, and I couldn't hold it back.
Emily! Why did it take you so long to come see me? I missed you so much. Come here and let me hold you.
He reached out to me, his eyes full of longing and love. But I didn't move. I stood by the door, looking at him coldly. My voice was calm and indifferent.
John, everyone has explained it to you, right? We broke up. She's your girlfriend now. And she told you, didn't she? I was with another man behind your back.
With a determined look, he pulled Lily towards the door. Under the light, the diamond ring on Lily's finger sparkled, piercing my eyes. It was the ring I had designed myself, which John had insisted on having crafted by Master Tim's abroad. It was our wedding ring, now on another woman's hand. I stared at John's back for a long time until he was about to disappear. Unwilling to give up, I chased after him.
John!
I called out to him. Pointing at Lily, I asked,
Do you know who she really is?
Yes, I know. Lily is the one who used to bully you.
He stared at me for a moment, a playful smile on his lips.
But so what? It doesn't stop me from loving her.
I didn't expect to see Dr. Lucas here. He wasn't wearing his lab coat today, but a well-fitted suit, standing by his car with a file in hand. He must be here for a seminar. I was stunned for a couple of seconds, glancing at Lily kneeling on the ground and John entangling with me. I felt a bit awkward, not knowing how to explain. Fortunately, Dr. Lucas remained surprisingly calm upon seeing this scene. His gaze lingered on the two for a few seconds before he turned to me.
Are you busy now? I have something to discuss with you.
I nodded, ignoring the uncomfortable stares behind me, and got into his car.
Emily.
I didn't look back. I returned to the hospital with Dr. Lucas. He had good news for me.
I discussed your case with my mentor again. I've improved the surgical plan. This time, I can guarantee that your left ear will fully recover after the surgery.
I breathed a sigh of relief and nodded happily. Finally, some good news to calm my heart. But I glanced at my stomach and bit my lip.
The surgery might need to be postponed. I'm pregnant. But I plan to terminate the pregnancy. After the procedure, I'll need some time to recover. Let's schedule the surgery for 4 months later. Sorry for the trouble.
Dr. Lucas was silent for a moment.
That's fine. Your health is the most important. Take good care of yourself, and we can do the surgery later.
I smiled gratefully at him, thankful that he didn't ask further questions.
I'm about to get off work. Let me drive you home.
I couldn't refuse, so I nodded in agreement. As soon as I got out of the car, I heard John's voice again.
Emily.
I frowned and turned around to see John standing there in a hospital gown, his eyes dark and unreadable as he looked at me and Dr. Lucas in the car. I thought he might do something dangerous, given his reckless nature. Instinctively, I tightened my grip on my bag. But John just stood there, saying nothing. I breathed a sigh of relief and waved to Dr. Lucas.
Thank you for the ride. See you.
Dr. Lucas glanced at John calmly before nodding at me and driving away. I turned to look at John's hospital gown and his bandaged arm.
Did you sneak out? Mrs. Smith will be worried. I'll call my secretary to take you back to the hospital.
I took out my phone, but John grabbed my hand, his expression agitated.
Emily, is he the Dr. Lucas?
John was very nervous, his body slightly trembling. It seemed like if I said no, he would collapse the next second. Looking at him, I felt no pity, only a faint sense of annoyance. The more he acted like this, the more I realized how foolish 26-year-old John was. I pried his fingers off one by one and nodded.
Yes, I was seeing him for treatment.
John sighed in relief, then asked nervously.
Are you sick? What illness? Is it serious?
Yes, it's quite serious. I'm treating my ear. My left ear is partially deaf. Because of you.
I saw confusion in his eyes.
On our graduation day, I got into a car accident while saving you, injuring my brain nerves and causing partial deafness in my left ear.
But I didn't tell you. I gave up my dream of music and secretly saw doctors, only to be misunderstood by 26-year-old you as having an affair. You not only humiliated me but also planned to marry the girl who bullied me.
That's why I had to break up with you. Do you understand now? I hate you, John.
John took a long time to process my words. His eyes went from confused to utterly devastated. He tried to hug me, but I pushed him away. With just a gentle push, he fell to the ground, motionless, and started crying loudly. I watched coldly, called his secretary, and went upstairs. Later, the secretary angrily questioned me.
Miss Emily, how could you be so heartless, leaving Mr. Smith lying in the cold wind? He's still a patient. Can't you forgive him? You'll regret treating him like this.
I won't regret it, don't worry. I never regret any decision I make.
John and I had delayed getting our marriage certificate and holding the wedding. This eventually alarmed my mother. She brought my chubby brother to my place to find me. When she learned that John and I had broken up, she was so angry that she poked my forehead repeatedly with her finger.
Are you crazy? How dare you break up with young Master Smith? What about your brother's house? His job? His wife? How did I end up with such a useless daughter?
The more she spoke, the more agitated she became, spraying me with spittle. Finally, she twisted my arm harshly with her finger.
Worthless wretch!
My brother, standing beside her, bared his teeth and cursed, his 300-pound body shaking with anger.
You wretch! Useless!
Looking at their disgusting faces, a flood of memories surged into my mind. In my second year of high school, I was bullied by Lily. She spat in my food, poured boiling water over my head, and shoved my head into the toilet. I fought back, and we ended up in a scuffle. She was furious and brought a group of girls to gang up on me. When I returned home covered in bruises, my mother's reaction was the same.
Useless wretch! How dare you cause trouble at school? Always causing me problems. Didn't I tell you to endure it when you get hit? Once they vent their anger, they won't hit you anymore. How dare you fight back? How can you be so cheap?
That night, she lectured me for a long time, breaking 3 wooden sticks in the process. I learned to obey her words and stopped resisting Lily, but Lily didn't stop. Instead, she became even more aggressive, knowing I had no one to stand up for me. One day, I couldn't take it anymore. I secretly took my mother's phone, recorded Lily hitting me multiple times, and reported it to the police. Lily was already 18 at the time and could have been sentenced. But my mother insisted on dropping the charges because Lily's parents gave her a large sum of money. I knelt on the ground, begging her not to take the money and to send Lily to jail for justice. But my mother deleted all the evidence and beat me up again.
Are you crazy? Not taking the money for justice? Let me tell you, even if you get beaten to death, as long as they pay, I won't care. Your life is worthless. Your brother is the treasure of our family.
It was like this before, and it is the same now. After I got together with John, my mother initially opposed it strongly because she planned to marry me off to a 50-year-old man for a dowry. But when she learned of John's status, she began to treat me with care. Occasionally, she would pickle some vegetables I liked and send them to me. Sometimes, she would call to check on me and apologize, saying she had made mistakes in the past. Growing up, I always longed for motherly love, so for a moment, I was lost. I thought she had truly repented. But in the end, it was all an act. I picked up the teacup in my hand and smashed it on the ground.
Enough! Get out of my house. My affairs have nothing to do with you anymore. If you keep causing trouble, I will end my life. But before I go, I'll make sure to drag you down with me.
My eyes were fierce, like a demon crawling out of hell. The shards of the cup in my hand gleamed, truly scaring the mother and son. In the end, my brother dragged my mother away in a panic. I looked at the shards in my hand and sneered. Good. From now on, I have no family anymore. John never bothered me again after that. He just stood outside my building every night, standing there all night long. He would look up quietly at me, his eyes full of regret and apology. One evening, Lily came, begging John to come home.
John, please come home.
But John slapped her twice, hard.
You wretch! So you did torment Emily after all. When I find the evidence, I'll make sure you pay for it. Now get lost.
Lily covered her face and ran away in a panic. John continued to stand there, persisting for a week until he collapsed from exhaustion. I didn't go down, just called an ambulance for him. 2 days later, Mrs. Smith asked to meet me at a cafe. I thought she would come to blame me for John's condition. But she just brought me my favorite strawberry mousse cake.
Eat more. You've lost so much weight recently.
She glanced at my belly.
Is the baby still there? Are you really going to go through with it?
I paused with the fork in my hand, not saying anything. Just as I was about to nod, Mrs. Smith sighed.
Actually, it's better to end it. Cutting ties with John completely isn't a bad thing.
The sound of the fork scraping the plate was sharp. I looked up at Mrs. Smith in surprise. I never thought she would agree to the termination. She had always loved children, and with John in such a state, she shouldn't be the one supporting my decision. Mrs. Smith placed her warm hand over mine.
From the moment you risked your life to save John, our family owed you. Ending the pregnancy isn't wrong. John wronged you first. Now that he's remorseful, so what? A mistake is a mistake, and it must be paid for. It's unfortunate you have to endure this pain, but it's better to end it now and start a new life.
Mrs. Smith had always treated me well, like a mother. She never looked down on me because of my background, and she always showed me kindness, giving me many gifts. I treated her like my own mother. Seeing her loving expression, I couldn't hold back and hugged her, crying out all my grievances.
Don't cry, child. Those who wronged you should be the ones crying.
Before I left, Mrs. Smith handed me a card.
There's 300,000 in this card. It's not much, but I know you wouldn't take more. Use this for your ear surgery. Consider it a token of my care.
I was silent for a long time, finally accepting it with gratitude.
Thank you, Mom.
Mrs. Smith was surprised, tears glistening in her eyes.
I've wanted you to call me that for a long time. I was waiting for you to marry John. But now it seems that's not possible. So from now on, I'll consider you my goddaughter. Good. Good.
How wonderful. I lost those false relatives but gained a true family. With that, John pulled Lily towards the door. Under the light, the diamond ring on Lily's finger sparkled, piercing my eyes. It was the ring I had designed myself, which John had insisted on having crafted by Master Tim's abroad. It was our wedding ring, now on another woman's hand. I stared at John's back for a long time until he was about to disappear. Unwilling to give up, I chased after him.
John! Do you know who she really is?
John stared at me for a moment, a playful smile on his lips.
Yes, I know. Lily is the one who used to bully you. But so what? It doesn't stop me from loving her.
With that, John pulled Lily towards the door. Under the light, the diamond ring on Lily's finger sparkled, piercing my eyes. It was the ring I had designed myself, which John had insisted on having crafted by Master Tim's abroad. It was our wedding ring, now on another woman's hand. I stared at John's back for a long time until he was about to disappear. Unwilling to give up, I chased after him.
John. I called out to him. Do you know who she really is?
John stared at me for a moment, a playful smile on his lips.
Yes, I know. Lily is the one who used to bully you. But so what? It doesn't stop me from loving her.
On April 16th, Lily attended the press conference in a flesh-colored deep V dress, her face looking eerie. The Smith Group had invited all the famous reporters in the city, and the venue was packed. I was there too and saw John. He had lost a lot of weight, looking almost skeletal. His well-tailored suit hung loosely on him, as if a gust of wind could blow him away. He spotted me in the crowd, his eyes brightening for a moment before dimming again. Lily noticed me too. She clung tightly to John's sleeve with her left hand, smiling at the flashing cameras.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming to my press conference. Today, as the spokesperson for Smith Group.
Before she could finish, the big screen behind her suddenly lit up and started playing a video. It showed Lily with disheveled hair and bruises all over, kneeling on the ground, confessing her wrongdoings.
I, Lily, am a despicable person. In high school, I maliciously bullied my classmates, forced them to eat dirty things, burned them, and made them bark like dogs. Later, I deliberately seduced Mr. Smith, becoming the other woman. I deserve the worst.
In the video, Lily revealed her misdeeds one by one, her face twisted in pain, a stark contrast to her usual glamorous online persona. The video was only halfway through when Lily's expression changed. Her eyes widened, and she grabbed John's collar, demanding answers.
Didn't you say that if I confessed, you would let me go? Why was this recorded? Why is it being shown at the press conference? John, you're ruining me.
At that moment, she finally realized John's true intentions. But she reacted quickly, pointing at John and shouting to the reporters who were frantically recording.
I didn't say those things willingly. This man forced me. He threatened me with my father's company. I was coerced. I didn't do those things.
There was a moment of silence in the room. The reporters looked confusedly at John and Lily, unsure of whom to believe. I took this opportunity to signal, and the big screen played another video. It was footage of Lily bullying me in high school. My mother had secretly kept a copy of the video, not for my sake, but to extort money at a critical moment. After I found out she was in Myanmar, she suddenly called me, frantically asking me to bring 30 million to Myanmar to save her and her son. She and her precious son had already lost a kidney each, and if I didn't bring the money, they might not survive. I felt no sympathy and remained silent. My mother panicked and finally revealed the truth about the video. I sent her 2 million and learned the video's location. After that, I hung up whenever she cried. Once the video was shown, Lily could no longer deny her actions. Under the reporter's questioning, she covered her face and fled in panic, shouting,
Leave me alone! I know I was wrong!
She ran out of the crowd but was caught by the arriving police. I hired the best lawyer to defend me, and Lily was sentenced to 10 years. But in her first year in prison, she lost her sanity. Her face was completely ruined because the cosmetic products John had given her were unregulated. These products caused her face to fester, rot, and erode her body and spirit. Thus, Lily went completely mad and received her comeuppance. As for John, he was diagnosed with late-stage stomach cancer. From then on, he drank heavily and drove recklessly, living a life of debauchery. A year later, he passed away. After John's death, his secretary found me and handed me a will. John had left 50% of Smith Group's shares to me, but I refused them, leaving everything to Mrs. Smith. Later, I became more and more famous, gaining many fans. Suddenly, many people loved me. Today, I held another concert, singing the songs I loved for those who loved me. In the crowd, a man approached me with a diamond ring. I knew I had finally found my true happiness. The end.